Hey everyone, and welcome. Now, if you live in India, you know this sight all too well, right? On your street corner, sleeping under a car, maybe hanging around a chai stall. Stray animals, especially dogs, they're just part of the scenery. But what if I told you that this everyday sight is actually just the tip of a massive, really complicated national crisis? A crisis that touches everything from public health to our economy and has now triggered a truly game-changing order from the Supreme Court. Okay, let's get right into it. So get this, on November 7th, 2025, the Supreme Court of India dropped a bombshell of a directive. And this one line you see on your screen, that's the heart of it. For decades, the policy for managing stray dogs has been what we call animal birth control, or ABC. You know the drill. Catch, sterilize, vaccinate, and then release them back into their own territory. But this new order says, nope, stop. Do not release them back where you found them. I mean, this is a complete 180 from decades of policy. And that brings us to the big question, really the dilemma at the core of this whole thing. Is this landmark order the powerful, decisive game changer we need to finally solve this crisis? Or is it a well-intentioned idea that's just practically impossible to implement on the ground? You know, something that could actually create an even bigger mess.
To figure that out, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll dig into what the Supreme Court's order actually said. Then, we'll zoom out to understand the true scale of India's stray animal crisis. We'll look at who is on the ground, the real people and animals in the middle of this. We'll check out the huge impact it has on our daily lives. And finally, we'll talk about the massive hurdles and what the way forward might look like.
All right, let's jump into our first section, the Supreme Court's big order. We're going to slice through all the heavy legal talk and get straight to what the court has told every single state and union territory to do.
So here are the key points, and they are sweeping. The court ordered the immediate, and they used the legal term forthwith, which basically means right now, removal of stray dogs from places like schools and hospitals. These animals have to be taken to shelters for sterilization and vaccination. But, and this is the big one we talked about, they cannot, under any circumstances, be released back into the same area. The order didn't just stop at dogs. It also said to clear stray cattle from highways to prevent accidents, a massive problem, as you know. It ordered all government institutions to be fenced off, and to top it all off, it gave authorities just 8 weeks to report back with proof that they've complied. So yeah, this isn't a friendly suggestion. It's a strict, demanding, time-bound order.
Okay, on to our second section. To really get why the highest court in the country took such a drastic step, we need to wrap our heads around the sheer, mind-boggling scale of India's stray animal crisis. And this is where the numbers, well, they start to tell a pretty scary story.
So first, a quick definition just so we're all on the same page. What is a stray animal? Officially, according to the rules, it's a dog or cat without an owner, just roaming around. Simple enough. But in India, the crisis is way broader, isn't it? It absolutely includes the thousands of stray cows on our city streets and highways, and of course, the growing troops of monkeys we see in our cities. Now, for the numbers, and honestly, prepare yourself. India is home to an estimated 65 million stray dogs. Just let that number sink in for a second. 65 million. That is, by a huge margin, the highest number of any country on the planet. To put it in perspective, that's more than the entire human population of countries like the UK or Italy. Just imagine the entire population of the UK, but as stray dogs on our streets. That's the scale we're talking about. And this massive population has a very real, very direct, and often painful human cost. In 2024 alone, over 2.2 million dog bite cases were officially reported across the country. 2.2 million. And the key word there is reported. We all know that for every one case that gets officially recorded, there are so many more that are just treated at a local clinic or not at all. The real number is probably way, way higher.
Now this is where it gets truly tragic. Those bites can be fatal. India sees an estimated 20,000 deaths from rabies every single year. Rabies is a horrifying disease. Once you show symptoms, it's almost 100% fatal. But here's the thing, it's also 100% preventable with the vaccine. These 20,000 deaths are a direct failure of public health, stemming from our failure to manage the stray dog crisis.
And this chart here just puts our problem into stark relief. Just look at that. India, with about 18% of the world's population, accounts for a staggering 36% of all global rabies deaths. More than 1/3 of every single person who dies from rabies anywhere in the world dies right here in India. It's a national shame, really. So how on earth did we get here?
How do we let it get this bad? Well, it's like a vicious cycle. It starts with uncontrolled breeding. A single female dog and her pups can lead to thousands of new dogs in just a few years. And this population explosion is fueled by our countrywide problem of poor waste management. Overflowing garbage bins provide a constant food source. Then you add the heartbreaking issue of pet abandonment, people getting cute puppies and just dumping them when they get older. And all of this is made worse by sterilization programs that, for a bunch of reasons, just haven't been effective enough.
And you see this crisis everywhere, but it's most concentrated in our big cities, like Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. You see it at its worst in busy public places like schools and hospitals, the very places the Supreme Court called out. It's also a deadly problem on our highways. It's not just dogs. Stray cattle wandering onto a dark road is a death trap. In Punjab alone, stray animals caused 421 road accident deaths back in 2022. And of course, some states are just epicenters. Uttar Pradesh, for example, has over 20 lakh stray dogs.
And it's important to remember this problem didn't just pop up overnight. The first animal welfare laws go all the way back to 1960. The main strategy to manage strays, the catch-neuter-release method, was first introduced in 2001. The idea was solid, but through the 2000s, things just got worse, with official reports talking about an alarming rise in bites and rabies. New rules were brought in as recently as 2023 to try and fix the gaps, but clearly the crisis kept spiraling, which led directly to the Supreme Court's dramatic intervention in late 2025.
So that brings us here. Let's move beyond the policies and the stats for a minute. Who is actually on the ground dealing with this, day in and day out? Because this isn't just some abstract debate. It has real human and animal faces, full of fear, compassion, frustration, and a whole lot of suffering. Honestly, pretty much everyone. You've got ordinary citizens, parents who are scared to let their kids play outside, elderly folks who are vulnerable. Then you have the animals themselves. Their lives are often short and just brutal, facing cruelty, starvation, disease, and getting hit by cars. Then you have the government bodies, the municipal corporations who are supposed to manage this, but are often just completely overwhelmed and underfunded. This leaves NGOs like People for Animals and Blue Cross, and thousands of individual rescuers to try and fill these huge gaps. And finally, our whole healthcare system is taking a hit, burdened by millions of bite victims needing expensive vaccines. Okay, Section 4. Let's talk about how this crisis shows up in our daily lives, often in ways we don't even think about. The ripple effects are just enormous.
The impact really hits on multiple fronts. In public health, we've talked about the rabies deaths, but it's also about psychological trauma. Getting bitten by a dog can leave you with lasting fear, especially if you're a kid. Economically, the costs are huge. You've got massive healthcare bills, you have losses for farmers whose crops get damaged by stray cattle, you have the immense costs of road accidents, and socially, it creates fear and tension in our communities. It leads to sanitation problems, and in some places, large packs of dogs can even mess with the local wildlife.
And this slide is so important because it shows us that a solution, a proven one, already exists. It shows us what could be. This table basically shows the goal of humane management through well-run ABC programs. Look at the difference. Before, you have uncontrolled population growth. After, you get a stable and eventually smaller population. Rabies cases plummet because the dogs are vaccinated. Dog bites go down. The welfare of the animals themselves improves dramatically. And overall, human-animal conflict just reduces. This is the goal. This is what cities all over the world have done successfully.
Which leads us to our final, and maybe most important section. If we know what the goal is, if we have a method like ABC that works, why haven't we reached it? What are the massive hurdles in our way? And what does the path forward look like now, especially with this new Supreme Court order hanging over everything?
The hurdles are huge, let's be honest. The Supreme Court says move them to shelters, but that immediately hits the first roadblock: infrastructure. I mean, where are these shelters? Most cities barely have any. You can't just build shelters for millions of animals overnight. Then there's funding. These programs need serious, sustained money, which is often the first thing to get cut from a city's budget. There's a massive gap in public awareness about responsible pet ownership and sterilization, and even with good laws like the ABC rules, enforcement is patchy at best. All this is happening while these huge ethical debates are raging between animal welfare folks and residents demanding safety.
So the path forward is clear, even if it's really, really hard. First, we have to strengthen and properly fund the existing ABC programs, not throw them out. This is the scientific way to control the population. Second, we absolutely have to build the shelter infrastructure the court is talking about. But these need to be humane shelters for long-term care, not just holding pens. Third, we need massive public awareness campaigns about sterilization and adoption. Fourth, and this is critical, we have to fix our urban waste management to cut off the food supply. And finally, we just need to enforce the laws we already have, strictly and consistently, everywhere.
And that leaves us with this final, crucial question. The Supreme Court's order has forced this issue into the spotlight, clearly prioritizing public safety. The challenge now for our governments, our courts, and for all of us is this. Can we find a solution that actually protects both people and animals? Is there a middle path between a person's right to feel safe and an animal's right to live with dignity? That's the question we all have to answer now.
Whew! That was a lot to unpack. This is a super complex and emotional issue, and there is so much more to it. So, if you want to dive deeper into all the details, we've put together some fantastic notes and a quick revision mind map on the whole topic. Just click the link in the description to check it out on our website. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.